And at that time, while the machine was in progress, I ran into a then young scientist from the Institute for Advanced Study named John von Neumann, who was a consultant to Aberdeen Proving Ground, and we ran into each other on the railroad station at Aberdeen, and he, in a very kindly way, asked me what I was engaged in, and I told him, and he became, to my astonishment, incredibly interested. I had no idea that he was a consultant then to a number of agencies, including what became the Atomic Energy Commission, but in those days was called the Manhattan Project.
But in this project he had to solve a lot of equations and numerical accounting, what he did with electromechanical computational equipments too. So I think his very big interest was to find a more quicker equipment for counting.
Yes, that's exactly right. His computational needs were enormous, but I was unaware of that at first. And the whole trip from Aberdeen to Philadelphia, where I got off and he went on to Princeton, we spent in talking about this machine which we were building.
So you trained completely John von Neumann in the very early computer science.
That's right. And I asked him then to join with us, and he immediately did. And it made an association which, from my point of view, lasted until his death. And it was a wonderful association for me. It changed my whole life, and I think it changed the life of the world because it saw to it, through von Neumann, the invention of the modern computer. And it was a great period in my career.
Yes, if you remember, I asked you once about the Neumann concept. How did you find the Neumann concept? How did he find, or how did you find together the Neumann concept? Because quite a lot of scientists debate that the Neumann concept is the Neumann concept, or it is a concept which was not developed by Neumann. As I know, Moakley and Eckert, they wanted to patent the Neumann concept, I know from your book. So what is the truth in the concept? Because I think it was a key development result of the computers. And because the Neumann concept is so primitive and so single, so everybody could found it. A young guy, it was about 7 years old when I were talking about the Neumann concept. And what is difficult in this concept? He told me he was about 7, 8 years old. But all of the big inventions are very simple and very great as a step forward.
Well, that's absolutely right. The notion of the stored program is such a primitive, trivial, easy to understand notion that 5 seconds after one hears it, one knows it, and it's just part of his life. For that reason, there's been a fight about this which will never be resolved. All of us worked together. There were 5, 6 of us perhaps. We worked together probably once a week. This we meaning von Neumann and me, Eckert, Moakley, and my wife, my first wife, Adele. And we talked about all manner of things for hours on end. And in the course of all of this conversation, these concepts were born.
But it was born by Neumann, or it was a result of a discussion, or somebody thought that it is.
Well, von Neumann and I felt that it was ours. Eckert and Moakley felt it was theirs. Nobody will ever know. the thing got so entangled.
Goldstein doesn't say that it's mine. Goldstein doesn't say that it is mine.
No, I would say it. I would say that von Neumann and I together did these things, and I think it's clear to me that von Neumann did the most important part of this thing. Namely, he went away on a trip to Los Alamos, and while he was there, he wrote an account of the computer, which was called the EDVAC, and he wrote down a program for the machine, and he programmed a problem of sorting of data.
But it was the first draft.
That was the first draft. The first draft was a paper which put down in writing, in very careful, technical, precise style, everything about the first computer. My contribution really was only very small part of that, and then some years later, von Neumann and I wrote a series of reports on what is now essentially the modern computer, in which we designed the machine, we programmed the machine, and we argued the merits of various ideas.